Hello and welcome to DataCast Solutions, Statistics and Data Mining 101 using KNIME. In this chapter we're going to get into measurements of scales. Before we begin to discover regression and how it's done with KNIME, we're going to need to understand some of the values that are important before regression is applicable. The measurements of scale are used to categorize or quantify variables and describe how they relate to one another. And there are 4 scales of measurement that are used in statistical analysis, and we're going to walk through each one of them: nominal, ordinal, interval, and scale ratios. But let's begin by talking about the properties of a measurement scale. The properties must include, to begin with, an identity. Each value on the scale has to have a unique meaning. Magnitude. All of the values on the measurement scale have an ordered relationship to one another. That is, they go from largest to smallest. There's not a random order like you might see in a city name. The intervals must be equal. That means the scales are the same. In other words, the distance between 1 and 2 should be the same as the distance between 10, 19, and 20. And a minimum value of 0. The scale has a true 0. That is, there is no point below it. Those are the 4 properties of measurement scales. Now let's look at how those 4 properties apply to each of the 4 types of scales. In the nominal scale of measurement, it only satisfies the identity property, in that each value is a unique value. So let's take the example of gender. There is unique values for male and female, but there is no magnitude, meaning there isn't an order. If you're going to place them on a scale, there's not an order to them. They can be in either order. And there's no measurable interval between them that I can provide, and there isn't a minimum value of 0. So identity is the only one that's actually measured. The ordinal scale contains identity and magnitude, but not equal intervals and 0. Let's look at the example of a horse race. Who wins places and shows? Each value has an identity that is unique, so the identity is met. And the magnitude, there is an order to them. Win is the one that came in first, place is the one that came in second, third is the one that came in short. So there is a magnitude, a relationship. However, the equal interval is not met. There is no distance between first and second. The first horse might win by 5 seconds over the place horse, and then the show horse might finish 25 seconds later. So the equal interval is not present, as is a minimum value of 0. The interval scale of measurement has both identity, magnitude, and equal intervals, and the Fahrenheit temperature scale is a perfect example of the interval scale of measurement. Each value has a unique meaning. The magnitude is the same, meaning there is an ordered relationship between all of the different temperatures. And the intervals, the difference between 40 degrees and 50 degrees compared to 50 degrees and 60 degrees, is the same. However, there is no minimum 0, so that is not checked. It does not have a minimum value of 0 because I can have negative temperatures. Finally, the ratio scale is an example that will cover all 4 properties. If I look at an example of weight, each weight has a unique value, so the identity property is met. There is an order to the weight as they go up in the scale, so the magnitude property is met. The difference between each weight is identical. The difference between 20 and 21 pounds is the same as 30 and 31 pounds. And there is a minimum value of 0, which indicates the presence of no weight. So the minimum 0 property is also met. So as a summary, you can see all of the properties of a measurement of scale: identity, magnitude, equal values, and absolute 0. And you can see with each of the measurement scales which ones are actually meeting those properties. And this would be a good example that would be necessary to help you understand where you can use certain data science and predictive modeling techniques, is to understand the meaning of some of these variables. That completes this chapter of the class. Feel free to move on to the next chapter.